Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video covering the brand new earn-up called Patriots Unite, where you can earn either one of the Patriot T26E5 or the Egalite MX M449. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the earn-up, you will be able to earn either the Egalite or the Patriot. It started on the 2nd of July and it will run until the 23rd of July. It's a fairly simple op and you get to pick between one of the two tanks. You can earn points for this in multiplayer or co-op, so if you want to do it a little bit easier and you want to still grind points but you can't be bothered to play, do co-op, you know. You can, to get points for this, you have to place as the top XP earner on your team for 3 points, place as the 2nd through 5th top XP earner on your team for 2 points, and place as the 6th through 10th top XP earner for 1 point. So essentially come in the top 10 and you will gain at least 1 point for this challenge. And plus, in honour of the challenge's theme, you can also earn 1 bonus point in addition to the points above if you place among the top 10 XP earners in your match while playing an American or French vehicle. So play any of the American tanks, any of the French tanks, and you'll also get a bonus point for finishing in that top 10. So, you know, you can get some extra points to help you along the way to get either yourself the Patriot or the Egalite. Now, the question is, which one should you pick up if you already earn both? And that would be the Egalite, because it's worth way more gold. It is worth more silver when you earn it. So you'll earn nearly 6 million silver for the Egalite, because the Egalite is about 14,800 gold, which is mental pricing. It's one of those random ones that was super expensive when it came in, which means that, yeah, you'll get yourself a lot of silver for it, whereas the Patriot obviously is a fairly cheap tank, realistically, so you will get about 5 million. So, yeah, if you own the two, I should say, and you earn the Egalite, you'll get that more silver. So what else do you get in this earn-up? Well, at Patriots Unite 1, you'll earn 10 points, you get some med kits and some repair kits, fairly standard. You get 75,000 silver at Patriot Unite 2 for 25 points. At Patriots Unite 3 for 50 points, you get a flag for the US and for the French. You also get, at number 4, 75 points, honour their fight for freedom. At Unite 5, for 125 points, you get a Bastille Day emblem and inscription. At Patriots Unite 6, you will get 5 4x XP boosters at 175 points. At Patriots Unite 7, for 225 points, you will get a freedom inscription and the little Independence Day 2 emblem as well. And Patriots Unite 8, you will get your Celebrations emblem July 1st, you know, the little emblem to say, hey, look at this, you completed the earn-up. You'll get the Independence inscription, and you can choose one of the following tanks, which is the Patriot and the Egalite. Fairly simple earn-up, realistically. It's going to be fairly easy to do, and you will be able to get one of these two decent Tier 8 premium tanks. So, we talk about the Tier 8 premium tanks. What are they like? Well, here is the Patriot. We're going to go through what they've got statistically and what I run in terms of crew and equipment with them fully kitted out. So in terms of equipment on the Patriot, I run vents, the loader, and optics. I run vents to make everything about the tank better, make the DPM better, aim time better, some of the accuracies better, just make everything generally about the tank better. The advanced loader to make the DPM on this tank fantastic, because the DPM is a key strength of this vehicle, and optics to be able to spot for myself. And you can see we've got up to 510 meters of view range with that build. Instead of vents, you could quite easily run the traction system to go at 44 kilometers an hour, or the powertrain if you feel like you're a little bit too sluggish to hit 44, and you can get yourself up to 42 and have that extra oomph in the engine. If you feel like the gun's a bit too derpy for you, you could run the gun stabilizer to reduce the accuracy during movement and rotation, but I do think that the accuracy during movement and rotation on this tank is pretty good, so you don't really have to suffer that too badly. You don't really need the vert stabs too much, and you don't really need a GLD on this vehicle because the aim time is already super good, and you don't really get much out of the GLD for that, realistically. And then in terms of a crew for the Patriot, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Off-Road Driving, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Steady Aim. The 3 gun perks to make sure that this gun is as good as it can be, because once again, if you run these gun perks, you do not have to run the gun stabilizer. Off-Road Driving to negate the effect of the terrain resistances on the tank so that it can get somewhere near its top speed. Track mechanic, because I'm a heavy tank, I do tend to get stuck in a little bit at times, and I do like getting my tracks back on faster. And while these 5 perks you're going to take on every tank in World War II. So let's have a quick look at the statistics of the tank while it's set up like this. Well, as you can see, we've managed to get the ground resistances down quite a bit. We've got the 40.2 km/h top speed, 15 km/h reverse speed, 704 horsepower with a 15.17 horsepower per ton ratio, which means that you will get mostly near this 40 km/h top speed. You've also got 20% internal fire chance, which is on the higher end of fire chances, so that can be a bit of pain at times for the Patriot. You've got 510 meters of view range, which is fantastic. You'll be able to spot so many targets with this tank, and especially when you get maps like Proc and Mali, and you can get to a ridgeline, go hull down, and be in an aggressive spot to spot for your team, and bounce all the shots off your turret, you will be able to get tons of assistance. You've got 30 degrees a second hull rotation speed on the Patriot, which is pretty good, with a 27.69 degrees a second turret rotation speed, which isn't that good, because it is slower than your hull rotation speed, so bear in mind that your turret does turn slower. You've got 0.49 accuracy during rotation, which is really good. You've got 1.9 accuracy during movement, though, which isn't that great, but to be honest, paired with the rotation accuracy and the 1.72 second aim time, you really don't need the gun stabilizer because of that, and the gun handling on this tank is actually pretty nice at this point. You've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is solid for a ridgeline, and you can go hull down and absolutely laugh at people. 4.69 second reload, which is a 3k DPM, which is absolutely insane. The DPM on this tank is absolutely brilliant for it. You've got 0.3 accuracy at 100 meters as well, which is pretty accurate these days for this vehicle. You've got APCR standard, APCR premium, and HE on the third round, with 230 pen on the standard APCR and 259 penetration on the premium APCR, which is pretty good for a tier 8 heavy at this point. You've got 240 damage, which is more medium-esque. It's definitely not a heavy tank in that way. This is played more like a slower medium tank, right, really, than a brawling heavy tank, because it's got the really good hull down armor, but not really good armor while out in the open. You got 1,021 meters a second shell velocity on the APCR, though, which isn't that great for APCR, but it's still not bad. 1,021 is pretty nice in general as well. And you got 158% silver bonus on the Patriot. So what about the Egalite? Well, the Egalite, in terms of equipment, I run the advanced loader, the gun stabilizer, and optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself, because this tank is blind, and honestly, if you do not take optics, you will be blind, and everything will outspot you, and because you're not the quickest in the universe, you'll just get absolutely shredded without being able to see what's shooting at you, so you really want to help the view range on this tank, because it is blind. The gun stabilizer to make this gun as good as possible, because this gun is not great if you do not take the gun stabilizer, and the advanced loader to make the DPM better. In terms of a crew, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Clutch Braking, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run, and Gun. Clutch Braking to make the track traverse better, because the track traverse is pretty slow on the Egalite, so I want to make sure that this thing is turning a little bit quicker. The 3 gun perks, because the gun can be a bit troll at times, so you do want to help that out if you can. Track mechanic, because I am a brawling heavy tank and I am going to get my tracks blown off quite often, so I want to be able to get them back on quicker if I've already used my repair kit. And these 5 perks are generally what I'm going to take on every single tank in World War II. So let's have a quick look at the statistics of the old Egalite as well. You've got a 40 km/h top speed with a 15 km/h reverse speed, 1,000 horsepower engine with a 14.29 horsepower per ton ratio. Now, you do have that 40 km/h top speed, but you don't really hit it. You tend to stick at 34 to 35 in this vehicle. It doesn't quite get there most of the time. This is definitely the more heavy tanky one of the two, so if you really love your heavy tanks, this is probably the one that you're more likely to pick than the Patriots. The Patriot's definitely the more medium-esque heavium type. And you've got 1,500 hit points as well, which is a good slab of hit points for a tier 8 heavy. 27.25 degrees a second hull rotation speed with what we've got is still not that great, but we've got it better at least. Ground resistances that aren't that great, but you might want to run off-road driving instead of clutch braking if you feel like they're holding you back. The 473 meters of view range, which is okay, but you're still not that good at spotting things with this vehicle because it is fairly blind. I think it's 360 base, which is not good. 30.41 degrees a second turret traverse, which is faster than your hull traverse, which is quite nice for the vehicle. 0.81 accuracy during rotation isn't that nice. Paired with 1.71 accuracy during movement is, again, not great. It tends to bloom out quite a lot if you do not run the gun stabilizer. 10 degrees of gun depression is lovely, though, for the Egalite, and it means you can go hull down pretty nicely. You've just got to watch the cupola on top of the tank. You got 7.29 second reload, which is 2.5k, well, 2.4k DPM, which again is a little bit low for the vehicle. 0.28 accuracy during 0.2 accuracy at 100 meters, is pretty okay though for this vehicle. You do have a 2.49 second aim time as well, which, like I say, paired with the bloom that you get from the 0.81 and 1.71, you do feel that 2.5 second aim time, so that can be a bit of pain at times. You've got 232 penetration on the standard AP, 263 on the premium APCR for 300 damage, with 1,000 meters a second shell velocity on the AP and 1,250 meters a second shell velocity on the APCR, which the shell velocity on this tank's pretty damn nice. The penetration is pretty solid for a tier 8 heavy tank. And I didn't show the module view of the Patriot, but we'll have a quick look here. As you can see, the Armour, this thing is made of Armour. There is Armour everywhere in this vehicle. If you're shooting at the back of the turret or anywhere sort of towards the middle of the tank, you are likely to damage the Armour. And the engine block is all in the back of the Egalite, so if you're shooting the back end of this vehicle, the likelihood is it's going to go in and break the engine, which is a bit of a pain, realistically. And as you can see with the armor viewer, if you are shooting a derp gun at this thing, it's only got 40mm of armor on the rear, so if you've got derp guns and stuff, you're going to have a whale of a time at the back of the Egalite. But frontally, it's pretty decent. It's 190 sloped with a 200mm plate on the randomly in the middle and 250 on the turret front. But naturally, on that turret front is really, really good on the Egalite, which means you can ricochet a lot of shots off the turret. But you do have a cupola, which is 150mm thick, which is a big shot target, which means that a lot of the time people will penetrate your cupola, so you've got to be careful of that. Also be careful that with this tank you don't really want to angle too much. You want to try and keep it so it's frontally on most of the time, because you've got these 150mm cheek plates that as soon as you start to angle it becomes really weak, and that is sad times. This tank does 80mm of side armor though, which means you can side scrape, but you have to be careful when side scraping, because if you show these cheeks when you are doing it, they are likely to get penned and be massive weak points for your side scraping, which can be absolute pain. You've got to be very, very careful when trying to side scrape in this vehicle. But this upper plate is really damn good. It tends to only really start to suffer when you're facing tier 10s with 270 plus pen, and that's where they start to go through you, but you are a tier 8 heavy tank. And in terms of the Patriots modules, let's have a quick look at that as well. As you can see, there's the ammo racks. It is basically in the dead center of the tank underneath the turret. So if they shoot you there, you're more than likely going to lose your ammo rack. And then there's the engine block, as always, towards the back of the tank. So it tends to get its engine knocked out if it does get shot there as well. And in terms of armor, like I say, this thing hull down is a beast. 279mm on that well-sloped gun mantlet, with 215 around that turret, and a cupola on top, which is 152, but it is also very well sloped, which means it's very awkward to hit, and most of the time when people do hit that, they tend to just do viewport damage. So the armor on the Patriot is actually really quite nice in terms of going hull down. It is very good a hull down tank. Out of the two, I do think that the Patriot is probably better, but for those that like the more conventional heavy tank playstyle, the Egalite is the one, right? Because this is more of a heavium, go hull down, medium-esque type of playstyle, whereas that is the just get stuck in brawl kind of heavy tank. But yeah, without further ado, that is the two tanks, and I didn't show you the bonuses. 160% silver bonus on the Egalite is really good as well. So it does make good silver. And yeah, that is the two tanks. So what I'm going to do now is send you over to the replays where you can see both tanks in action, see how they handle, see what they're like with these builds that I play. You know, you can adjust the builds to your playstyle and how you want to play them. So without further ado, everybody, I'm going to send you over to the replays. So here we are in the replays, and we're going to start off by looking at the Patriot T26E5. Now, a lot of people will still already own the Patriot, because we did earn it, I want to say 1 or 2 years ago at this point, to be fair. It was quite a while ago, we did earn it, and I do actually have it on my free-to-play, and I can't remember how I got that. I think that was from the earn up, so it might have even been last year. But anyway, we're on this map. which is Erlenberg, Kampenberg, Derpenberg, you know, all those good stuff. And what we're going to do is cut across the 2 line so that we can get some early shots out across anyone that goes up the JK, because some people will go up the JK from their spawn, and if they do, that way when we sit here we can punish them and make them regret their life choices. And if nobody does come across this way, we can then just run to cut straight across the bridge, get into the position at E6, and that way we can spot up the enemy team and get some damage out. And as you can see where our light tank is at the minute, at H2, there is nobody being spotted. Absolutely nobody. So it's like, okay, you know what? If no one's been spotted along the JK line, I'm going straight for that bridge. We're going to cut across the bridge and straight into safety in that position at E6. And that way, once we're there, we can get hull down and start spotting all the guys that camps on the ridge lines, and then get ourselves some assistance. We take 1 or 2 hits as we're coming across the bridge, which is always a risk. If you do this position, it's always a risk that you could take some hits from those guys camping on the hills. But once you get here, you can then start to maneuver the situations. We get a nice shot snapped into the IS-3, who was sideways on there. We're just going to start trying to side scrape out so that we're reducing the amount of tank that people have to shoot at. Something did shoot at us there, so there's something somewhere, and it's actually thinking possibly it was that T-34-3. In fact, it was one of that medium tanks that just shot at me. And there's also an Emil who just bounced off our extremely well-angled front. And that is because he's stock. You can tell by what we're blocked in the top corner, which has actually made me a little bit happy to go out against that Emil, because we blocked 320 damage, which means that that guy's got the stock Emil 1 gun, which means he doesn't even really have the best penetration in the universe. So against the Patriots upper plate, well angled, yeah, it's likely to not pen. So we're just trying to, again, you can see us getting snapshots off. That's all we want to risk against stuff like the SU-122-54. While we do have the turret armor to bounce something like an SU-122-54, it's just not a risk I want to take. So we're just playing it as quickly as possible. And you can see, even without the gun stabilizer, just how good this gun is. It is a very, very good gun, and the DPM is also absolutely fabulous on this vehicle as we get our first kill of this game. And you can also see the assistance that is starting to appear from this position that we've got here. We've got 1,700 assistance so far. We've got a nice tracking shot into the Emil 2 there. Oh, I didn't track him, unfortunately, actually, but we did get a few pens in. Motherland's in front of us. We get a nice shot into him. You can see we're having to be as quick as possible. We do not want to sit there and aim, because that gives people the chance to be able to get free shots into our side and stuff like that, and we don't want to risk that. Also, by the way, the difference between these 2 replays you're going to see is the muzzle flash. Now, you might be going... This is a perfect example, actually, that I just thought about, is that one of the things that I hate in this game that annoys me, that makes me actually not play certain tanks, like the STG. I like the STG, but I don't play it because the muzzle flash is atrocious and it annoys me, is that... And it's such a minor thing, right? I know it is, but it's just one of those things that annoys me, is that you'll see the difference between playing with a muzzle flash and without. And it seems to be certain maps have muzzle flashes for tanks and certain maps don't. So you can see here, when we're firing... There is nothing. I can see exactly where my round goes, which was straight into that dirt, which can be a little bit more annoying, right? But I can see exactly where these rounds are going. I know exactly what they're going when they've missed or when they bounced. It's like, okay, I thought I could have hit the side of the Motherland, but actually I hit his turret front, and that's why it didn't pen. Whereas in the next replay, you're going to see the muzzle flash, where you don't see where the rounds go whatsoever, because there's a big flash in your screen. It's like a flashbang. It's really annoying. But side notes, digressions, right? We've managed to get a few shots there into the Motherland. We're up to 2.3k damage with 2.5k assistance. And I'm starting to think at this point, I might have outlived my usefulness in this position. I really kind of want to get to that ridge line. I want to get to that ridge line so that I can start distracting the tanks that are at D9, and so that my tanks that are at C9 can actually start pushing in and pushing down the 9-0. But I've just been as careful as possible, because at the minute we're still spotted, we've still got RE looking at us. I don't want to risk it too soon. It is 8-8, it is quite close at this point, and there we go. We finally find the SU-122-54 who's come over. We get a snapshot into him. He gets smashed by a couple of other people, feeding us up to 3.1k assistance, and I think, you know what, okay, time to go. I don't think there's anyone sat at K6, K7 anymore. we're just going to get over, use the buildings as cover, and get under this ridgeline. The artillery misses, and you can see I'm using the buildings as much as possible for my cover, because I don't really think there's much anything on the right. I take this route, which was a big mistake, because in fact, there still is stuff over there. And the Falcon T92 and the G-Saw that is also over there ends up finishing us off and shutting us down. And we finished with the victory, though, with 1 kill, 2.5k damage, 3.1k assist. And it's good about Silver, the Patrol Duty, the Confederate, the First Class, 1605 base XP. A pretty decent game there for the Patriots. Sadly, we made that mistake. We just wanted to get to the ridge line, get under the gun line, and then we'd have been safe from anyone that was towards the cap as well. But we realistically just took the wrong route, and yeah, we got done in. But now we're on to the second replay. And the second replay, we are on this map, which is Rosanai. And on Rosanai, we are going to push towards the castle, because the castle has a lot of good spots for us to go hull down, a lot of good spots for us to be able to go hull down and use our DPM, and, you know, just slap out some rounds. And the Patriot is pretty decent at being able to get there, because, like I say, we've got at 40.2 km/h top speed, so we are fairly mobile. I mean, we're not the mobilest tank in the universe, right? But getting up to 40 km/h is pretty nice. And that's why I say that if you want to forego the vents, you could take... I don't think I'd recommend taking the traction system, because I don't think you'd hit near 44. That's why I'd say probably more likely you're going to take the powertrain, just to give you a little bit extra oomph in the engine, and that way you'll get up towards that 40 km/h top speed more consistently, and also get 42 km/h top speed in general, which could be quite nice. So we're finally getting towards this position here at G4, which is exactly where I want to be, because from this position here I can shoot through those turrets and that gateway there, and if anything decides to push across, we can farm it while hull down, while keeping the strength of this tank in the perfect place. We get a nice RBRT there into the M41 Bulldog, and you can see we can also shoot through that gap. The Calliope is there trying to rocket us, so we go, okay, sir, if you want to fire our rockets, that's fine, Mr. Calliope. I'll just keep putting shots in. And here's where you can see the muzzle flash. It's like a flashbang that goes off in the middle of your screen, because I do have the occasional people, when I mention to people that I hate the muzzle flash, it's one of my big hates in this game. It's that. I just can't see where my shells go. I have no idea. It's a big pet peeve. There you go. I penned it, but I had no idea where it hit on that Bulldog, whereas on the previous map, there was no muzzle flash. I could see exactly where that shell hit. And yeah, it's like a big flashbang going off on the screen. You can see it perfectly. This is the perfect example of it, side by side with the last replay, right? But yeah, we're now farming up this Barask. I'm not sure what the Barask is doing. I am trying to track him. There we go. We finally track him. And I think, has he repaired it? Oh, he's not got his repair kit. There we go. We retrack him. I'm like, yes, you are now dead. But then he repairs. And I'm like, what were you doing this whole time, sir? Thankfully, though, we did manage to, because we got such good DPM, we did manage to get the shot in to shut him down. We get a tracking shot with a penetration snapped into the KV-85. I'm so confident this KV-85 won't pen as well while hull down, because, well, there's not many tanks that could pen as well while hull down, so I'll take it. The Calliope's rockets misses, and we're just going to farm up this KV-85 as much as we can. We end up tracking him in place, hopefully finish him off too, and there we go. Goodbye, Mr. Tier 6 Heavy Tank. So we're going to go pressure the Calliope, because we're not really scared of a Calliope. His rockets won't do too much. But in fact, Turkey ends up shutting him down with his Stone Cold. We see the Tiger 1 in the corner. I think, well, okay. I like farming Tiger 1s. They're big boxes. They're very easy to farm. But looking at him and our team going towards him, the likelihood of getting any more damage on that guy is a little bit low. So I might change up where I'm going to go. Because you can see he's only got 139 hit points. There's no point going to what that'd just be a waste of time. If you see that, there's 2 heavy tanks near the Tiger 1, right? And then there was Turkey that possibly could have got behind him as well, way before I would have done. It would have just been a big waste of time going anywhere near him, so we may as well change where we were looking and go and help another flank. So we found the Stirrer Mill. Again, this is why I say you don't really need the gun stabilizer, because look how good the gun was. We came from full chat on the move, and we were ready to go in the blink of an eye. Which is why the Patriot's gun is so good and you just don't need the gun stabilizer. And now we're just using that great DPM to good effect. Put the T-34-2 GFT down to a 1-shot. And sadly, he gets unspotted and we couldn't quite finish him off. We go for the snap, and sadly, Turkey also got the snap in and finished him off. Can we get this Stirrer Mill out? We get one shot into him. He's now a one shot. He's got 2 HP in a dream. Lead the target, and he gets unspotted. And he just stops in place. I thought he was going to keep running. But we do actually manage to get the kill on that German tier 6 medium tank, or tier 7 medium tank, sorry. I'm thinking the Dicamax is at tier 6. And now there's only one tank left on the enemy team, and that is the Dragon. We couldn't get the Dragon because he got shut down by the Goronich. But they were 2 fairly average games for the Patriot there that just showed off what it can do, what it wants to be doing. Get hull down and you can laugh at the enemy team. If you do get caught out in the open, you will get wrecked with it. Finish the game with that second class, the High Caliber, the Brothers in Arms, 1527 base XP. Pretty decent game there for the Patriot. Again, a pretty good amount of silver to make on this tank as well, because it really does make good credits. And we're on to the second replay. And the second replay, we're in the Egalite. And in the Egalite, we are on this map, which is Swamp. So what I'm going to do on Swamp, now we're in the Egalite, is go towards the position at J23. Because that's where you can get stuck into a bit more of a brawl if they do push quite aggressively down the 1-2. Now, the playstyle between the Egalite and the Patriot is quite a lot different. Because, like I say, this tank does have a 40 km/h top speed. That is the same as the Patriot. And your power to weight is only, what, 1 power to weight worse than a Patriot. But you never get anywhere near the top speed. You struggle. Unless you're going on a downslope or an incline, that's the only time you'll ever really truly get near 40. You tend to stick at about 35 to 36. And that's on a good day for the Egalite or the MXM449. It is definitely the more brawly heavy tank. When this first came in, it was like the godsend, right? It was like playing a Tiger 2. And that's probably a good way of describing it. It is a French Tiger 2, and I mean, that's the whole point. It was kind of designed similar to that, right, as a blueprint. But that's the way it plays, and that's the way it is like. The gun's pretty decent. The armour on it is pretty good. I mean, back in the day, the Tiger 2 armour got butchered by tier 9s and 10s, whereas this thing came in, and it was like tier 9s and 10s could bounce on this thing, and it was like, oh, this is great. And I really enjoyed the MXM449. I always loved playing it. It was one that I bought on PC when it first came out, and I absolutely adored it. And then when it came out on console, finally, I was all over that like a rash. I just had to get it. And yeah, that's why I've played the other version of the tank, the standard non-skinned version of this tank, quite a lot. Because there is 3 different versions of this tank, which you might have earned at some point along the way. There is the MXM449. There is the HMH MXM449, and then there's the Egalite, which is this one. The HMH and the Egalite were always 2 that were super expensive, and the standard one was just fairly average pricing for a tier 8 heavy tank. So yeah, you might already own one version of this tank as well. So if you do own the HMH MXM449 or the standard one, then the likelihood is you'll probably go and try and pick up the Patriot instead. But you can see we've come to this position here at J3. We've managed to get 1200 damage so far. We've got a few shots at the people that camp across the opposite way at D3. And you can see we just didn't quite have the reload to get the shot into that Pershing. The IS-32 actually crossed the open, which was sad, but I decided, okay, you know what, no, we're a heavy tank, we're top tier, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to go get ourselves stuck in and push this flank as hard as we can. We get a nice shot on the move into the VK4502A's side, just looking for the finish, and sadly we ricochet off his upper plate because we didn't quite get the chance to get the shot. Turkey's running in with his flames because he likes to flame, and he's going to, you know, be destroying my FPS as I zoom through those flames. T-44 ricochets off our upper plate. We put the shot straight through his upper plate, and now we're going after the CDC. And naturally, you know, Turkey's a troll. He likes to set me on fire. What can we say? What can we say? So we start taking hits in the side because they had a gun line ready for us to come out of that fight with the VK4502A. But we've managed to track this T25/2. Soapy Rocks is saying no. We'd literally touched one track on that rock, and it went, you know what? Now you've touched the track into this rock, you're just going to move now, friend. And pain. But we did get to shut down the T25/2, so we'll take it. The IS-22 is hull down, which is a bit awkward. The IKV-90B is in a position where, well, it's an IKV-90B. If it's spotted, we can just shoot it and pen it. So we get a shot straight through the IKV. He's a one-shot. I do want to shut it down if we can, because it's getting a gun out of this game. He's running away. Good night, Mr. Swedish Tier 7 TD. We are hull down, so I'm like, hey, I'm hull down. The turret front's really good. We'll be okay. But that CDC, which we just missed, found the cupola. That cupola is a real drawback for this tank when you are hull down. You do have to be very, very careful. You have to keep moving, keep wiggling as much as possible if you are hull down in this tank, because the likelihood is they'll probably just end up penning you in the cupola, and all of your really good turret armor then becomes pointless, which is something you don't really want to do, right? You don't want that in your Egalite. So we're just going to keep rolling. We're going to keep rolling towards where the CDC and the final heavy tank is, because we want to try and get more damage out of this game. But this is where playing something like the MX M449 is a little bit painful, because when the enemy team is getting cleaned up, you do struggle to keep up with the fight if it does go that way. But we did finish the game with a pretty decent total there for the Egalite. 3 kills, 3.5k damage, 352 assistance, the second class, with 1,589 at base XP. A pretty average game there, again, for the Egalite. Just showing off what it can do, what it wants to be doing. You know, it wants to get stuck into the brawl, bounce shots, and then work people over with the fairly average DPM, but a gun that can be fairly consistent, realistically. So we're on to the fourth and final replay of this battle, and we are in the Egalite yet again. We're in Overlord, we're against Tier 9 tanks. The Tier 9s, as soon as they start to fire premium, are the ones that will start to penetrate our armor a little bit too easily at times. But, yeah, if you are angled pretty well, you can still ricochet a lot of shots, because the upper plate was always 240 to 250 effective, which was really solid for a Tier 8 heavy back then, and it's still pretty solid for a Tier 8 heavy, because that means that when you're top tier, it is really good. And when you're bottom tier, like against Tier 9s and 10s, it's still good enough. It's still good enough that you can ricochet shots and you're not just pure buttery goodness for those tanks and their shells, right? So on Overlord, what we're going to do is go to the little position at E9 and get stuck in a little bit of a hull down brawl over there, which then accentuates our upper plate armor as well, because we can get us... Oh, that was a nice shot. Pat on the back, me, pat on the back. Well played. But yeah, we can get a hull down over there. It accentuates the upper plate armor, makes it a lot harder for the enemy team to be able to penetrate us, which is handy. We don't want to go to the beach on Overlord because, like I always say, do not go to the beach on Overlord, because it goes very, very badly. If they have anyone that sits and knows what to do against anyone on the beach, and basically sits on the cliffs at E3 or G3, they will farm you with impunity, and it's a sad, sad time for you if you do go to the beach. And then it takes you forever to get up and off the beach as well. And when you do try and climb off the beach on Overlord, up the C line or up the H line, it's quite easy to farm you coming out of it as well, which is pain, which is why the beach is completely useless on this map. Unless you get the random encounter spawns where you end up spawning half a team on both sides down there. In which case, if you're in a really slow tank, you're more than likely just going to trundle down the beach, right? But then you still suffer the same problem when the fast tanks get to the top and farm you. But it's an Overlord type problem. But so far, up to 1,755 damage with 1,086 assistance. And there we go. We just bounced a heat round there from that SU-130 PM, which is what, 320 pen, something like that? So we bounced that heat round off our upper plate, which is juicy. And that's where the armor on this tank is pretty nice. And yeah, it's 320 pen on the SU-130 PM. It's where the armor on this tank can be quite nice. It's a lot nicer than certain other Tier 8 heavies, which just get laughed at, if we're honest, when things load 320 heat pen and just butcher you. And yeah, the strength of the Egalite is the ability to just bounce the shots. We're not bouncing TNH TV Z51s, though, off of our side, because we drove out. I thought, oh, he's going to be distracted with the other heavy tank, right? No. No, I was wrong. We're up to 2.5k damage of 1,700 assistance, though, and we're just keeping the pressure on their team. It is 13-10, there's still a lot of tanks left, but I want to just keep pushing, because a lot of their team has gone to the beach. We've still got the SU-130 PM in front of us, so we're just taking the shots on the move. And like I say, this gun can be derpy at times, but if you do spec out the crew and the equipment for helping the gun, it can just be pretty consistent with this DPM. and your damage just sort of slowly but surely keeps ticking. So it's 2.8k damage with the 2.6k assistance. We've got some shots at the Tiger too, which we put one down range. The likelihood is, though, we're not going to get another shot at that guy. Yeah, he ends up getting shut down. The artillery is going to get killed. So what I'm going to do is push towards the AMX-30 and the UDES and this T-30. So the T-30 is actually in the open, so I think maybe I can get a free shot at this guy, because Seb was saying he could see the T-30, so it's like, well, hello, Mr. T-30, please let me shoot you. We get a shot into his side. In fact, the TD and the AMX-30 gets shut down. The other TD is still at K2. There's no point going towards that TD at K2 because there's a light tank YOLOing down, and there's also medium tanks YOLOing down towards him, so what's the point? We know there was 3 or 4 tanks spotted down at A34 because the last 5 tanks on the enemy team all went to the beach. They all went to the beach, and they are going to be trying to climb out of the beach and towards our cap. So now we've won the top end of the Overlord. We can get over there and cut off their ability to get off the beach, which is where I say it's never really a benefit to ever go to the beach, because our team swarmed theirs on the top because they didn't have any numbers, because a lot of their team went to the beach, and then we've just swarmed in to kill everyone that was on the beach, which is what's happened. And they've only got 3 tanks left, and it's 11-3. So we're just going to trundle our way over. And this is, again, where you can see the Egalite, the MXM445's mobility. Because we're tending to trundle between 25 to 35, depending on the terrain we were going over. And it's where I say that, the mobility-wise, this tank does struggle a bit. Because it doesn't have... While you have the 40 km/h top speed, you don't ever feel like you get anywhere near it. So we have the premium loaded because I realised it was an E75 and a Moisture. And yeah, we're not going to be able to penetrate those two guys with 232 pen reliably. So we may as well switch to our 263 penetration rounds, because that will guarantee us the damage against those guys and will get us some nice juicy damage, right? But they are starting to get swarmed, and this is again where I say the Egalite, the MXM449 can be a bit of a pain at times, because we've trundled all this way and we've only just got here just as they've been shut down, so we didn't get any more damage, but we did finish the game with a pretty decent total in a tier 9 game. Finished with the 2 kills, the 3.4k damage, 2.6k assistance, ace tanker, the Confederate, with the 1892 base XP. A pretty nice game there for the Egalite on Overlord. So yeah, that's the Egalite and the Patriot. They are 2 tanks that you can earn for the next couple of weeks in this earn-up. If you already own them both, pick the Egalite to get more silver. If you like more brawly heavy tanks, pick the Egalite. But if you like that more heavy and get hull down type of playstyle and generally the better tank, pick the Patriot. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!